Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It's your guy, Boulanger. And up next in this video, we're going to be dealing with the idea, the topic, the thought of what the Baltimore Ravens owe the other 52. That other 52 I'm talking about is the other 52 guys who are on the roster. Okay. I understand that some guys from last year are not there any longer, but there will be a 53-man roster. And if I'm just considering those guys who will be a part of that roster, right? Um, I think the Baltimore Ravens owe them something. Yeah, the easy answer is Belanger, man, they just owe them their money, and I get that, but that money was set aside, in contract. So that was already a given. But I think that when you sign up to be a part of an organization, whether it's in your personal interview or whether you're starting up a business, there's always an expectation. You're always engaging in business with an understanding that these three things, these four things, these 10 things will happen. And so I was thinking about not the fans this time, but I was thinking about the players. And I was wondering, where do they stand? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Right. And I understand that they get information firsthand where we get information through sports media and, articles and things like that. So we may be getting it from a secondary or third source, but I still think they're owed something. And the three things I think they're owed begins here. I think one of the things they're owed is an explanation. And I think the explanation should be about where the team is headed. You see, me as a fan, I'm looking at it from a distance, and the players are going to be looking at it from a closer vantage point. But as we sit here, it doesn't look like they have their GPS on. Doesn't look like they have any coordinates put in right now. And I'm sure that they do. But if I'm a player, I think you owe me an explanation. You see, because when I re-signed or when I signed in free agency, I signed up to to play with certain players. I signed up to be in contention for a championship. And so it doesn't look like that's possible. Right. So I need an explanation. EDC, I need an explanation. Hardball, I need an explanation. Bashadi, on where we're headed. See, because right now, as we sit, we don't have a quarterback under contract. Lamar is tagged but not signed. Huntley is tendered and not signed. And then Anthony Brown, he signed one of those end of the year free agent deals or whatever that was, but it doesn't guarantee him anything as it pertains to being on the roster. And we know that the Baltimore Ravens are not going into the 2023 season with Anthony Brown as the signal caller. And so how can a team understand where they're headed if they don't have a quarterback? Okay. It doesn't seem like they have a direction because they didn't seem to have a free agency plan, right? And I know that the quarterback situation may have threw that off a lot, but they don't have a plan. They didn't have a plan for free agency. You see, because we only heard of a few players coming in for visits or a few players that the Ravens showed interest in. And I understand that money was tight. But the reason why I don't believe they had a free agency plan is because there are certainly ways to move around money. They got seven guys with big contracts. You could have uh restructured that deal, bonus them the money, which means the money had to be in escrow more immediately. You could have certainly done that. Now they may do that after the draft. Who knows? Because that money goes on next year. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't look like they had a direction or have a direction. So if I'm a player and I signed up for this, I want to know where we're headed. You follow what I'm saying? So I think the first thing they're owed is an explanation. I think the second thing they're owed is an apology. An apology because this thing has been messy. It's kept the Baltimore Ravens in the news for everything except for on the field performance. It's created um, kind of a backlash on the Ravens organization, and so that can kind of flow down to the players as well. You see, the Baltimore Ravens reputation has been questioned. Their ability to build a team has been questioned. Their ability to function and do things in an appropriate manner has been placed into question. And so when I signed up to be a part of something, I thought I was signing up for something that was gonna be done the right way and appropriate, right? But it doesn't look like that right now. You see, an apology is to say that I didn't mean for this to happen. And an apology acknowledges where we are, right? And where we are as Ravens fans is in a mess. And I'm certainly sure that the Ravens players feel that same way. Is that, man, this thing don't look right. This thing don't look like it's headed in the right direction. You understand what I'm saying? So I think they owe an explanation, and I think they owe them an apology. And I think the third thing they owe them is a chance to contend. Because I guarantee everybody who signed up for the Lamar Jackson era, and I'm gonna say that started from 2019 because the team was already established and the team was already built in 2018. So I'm saying from 2019 coming forward, right? They all signed up to play with that guy. Nobody signed up to play in Baltimore, whether they re-signed with Baltimore or whether they came to Baltimore. People who came signed up with an understanding that that guy was the quarterback. You see, when you look at the main pieces on this roster, let's take a trip. Let's go defense first, since they've had the biggest signings. When Marlon Humphreys re-signed in 2020, he knew that his quarterback was the reigning MVP. That's easy to re-sign for that, right? When Calais Campbell was traded for, but then um, re-signed with the Baltimore Ravens, he knew that his quarterback was a former MVP. You follow me? And gave that team a chance to win on Sundays. Although Calais is gone now, but that's what he said. That's what he would have re-signed for. Okay. When Marcus Williams came to town this past offseason, he signed up knowing that Lamar Jackson was their quarterback, and Lamar Jackson gives them a chance to win a Super Bowl. Okay. When you look at Roquan Smith, now he didn't have a choice to be in Baltimore, and that $100 million contract certainly made it easy to make a decision to stay in Baltimore. But at the time that he signed that deal, who did he believe? Who would he have believed would be his quarterback going forward? Lamar Jackson, who would give him and them the best chance to win a Super Bowl. You see, we can certainly say, well, look at those guys. Those guys signed $100 million deals or close to $100 million deals. Agreed. But I wonder, would they resign for a little less money on a team who had their quarterback figured out? Meaning, if you were to remove Lamar Jackson from the equation when Humphrey signed, when Marcus Williams came in and signed, when Calais Campbell decided to resign, when even when Michael Pierce came back, or when Roquan decided to sign, I wonder would they taken a little less to be on another team if Lamar Jackson was not the Baltimore Ravens quarterback. See, I wonder. You see, I wonder would they've taken $5 million less, $10 million less to play somewhere with a chance to win because the quarterback situation was figured out, rather than playing for a team who's offering a lot of money but may not have a chance to win because there's no quarterback in place. Now, let me be clear. Every team has a quarterback situation. Every team, they have a starter and a backup. But what I mean is, if you don't have that guy, going into a team, you don't have a chance to win. Let's just be clear. Let's just be clear. Going right in that I'm going to take the bag of money because I know I'm going to take more money because I don't have a chance to win. But would players take less money to go have a chance to win? Well, we know they would. Think about how many guys followed Brady around for less money, having a chance to win. Think about how many guys decided to go play with Peyton Manning. And I know these are guys are, kind of Mount Rushmore guys. And I'm not saying Lamar Jackson is there yet. But what I'm saying is, the point I'm making is that players, will certainly take less money to play for a chance to win because there's a quarterback there. And so, would Marcus Williams make a different decision about who he's going to play with if he knew that in 1 year after signing, Lamar Jackson may not be the quarterback? And then there would be a huge hole at the quarterback position without an answer on the team? Would Roquan Smith have signed his deal so soon if he knew that 5 months later there would be a huge hole at quarterback and there's no option on the team? Would he have taken that deal? You see, because signing up for a whole lot of money but falling into mediocrity, that's good in a sense. You can live well. You can live really well. But when you lace them up every Sunday, you don't really have a hope to win, or you don't really have a hope to play in the playoffs. You don't really have a hope to win the Super Bowl. So all you're doing is cashing checks. How many players would take less money to go somewhere else? And I'm not talking about to go somewhere else right now, but I'm saying how many players would have made a different decision about sticking with Baltimore long term if they knew that guy was not going to be at the helm? That's what I mean by a chance. Replacing Lamar with anything other than Lamar lessens the chance for them to be in playoff contention and in Super Bowl contention. That's why an explanation is in order. That's why an apology is in order. And that's why a chance is in order. Hold on one second. I'm going to give you a few examples of teams that reference this point that I'm making. Back to a chance. Let's go offense. Mark Andrews signed a new deal in 2021, I believe it was. If he knew that guy wasn't going to be the signal caller in a year and a half, 2 years later, would he sign with another team for less money to have a more stable quarterback situation as he enters his prime? I believe he would. Ronnie Stanley has a big contract, but what if that guy who had already won an MVP, if he knew 2.5 years later that guy was not going to be his quarterback, would he take a little less to go to a more stable quarterback situation? Would he? You see, the point that I'm making is that's what I mean. These guys signed up. All of these guys got deals, whether re-signing or attained in a trade or whether walked in free agency. All these guys came aboard knowing that guy was at quarterback. And now here we are For some of those guys, 2 years later. For some of those guys, 1 year later. For some of those guys, 5 months later. Here we are with a huge question mark of who's going to be the quarterback. And now they got to be wondering, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to win now? Right? So even if the Ravens draft a rookie at the quarterback position, how many years is it going to take him to get up to speed for us to be in contention? See, that guy makes us an instant contender, especially if they make a declaration and fulfill the promise to upgrade the wide receiver position, which they haven't yet. Okay. But that guy who has proven he could carry the load puts us in contention. But there's no evidence that a rookie can put them in contention, no matter when they draft him. There's no evidence that Tyler Huntley can put them in playoff contention, much less Super Bowl contention. And there is no quarterback trade out there to get a good enough player at that position to put them in contention. So all these guys who signed big money deals knew that they were signing to play with that guy. Why? Because that guy gave them a chance. Now, am I saying that they signed up just because Lamar was there? No. But it does make a difference knowing who your quarterback's going to be and having a huge hole at quarterback. So the question is, would they have done differently if they knew differently? Now, I understand you have to do a deal when a deal's offered. I get that. But if they known that it was going to play out like this, would they have made a different decision? They may have. Explanation, an apology, and a chance. Let me give you a few examples of where this is true. Okay. When you look around the league and you look at teams who have not had quarterbacks, let's go with Jacksonville until they drafted Trevor Lawrence. If you go all the way back to when they drafted Jalen Ramsey, he was drafted, I think, with the number 4th overall pick, which means they were bad then. Because you ain't drafted at number 4 if you're good, right? They were bad then. And just up to 2 years ago, so between Jalen Ramsey's draft class, and I don't remember when he was drafted, up until they drafted Trevor Lawrence, who was the number 1 pick, which means they stayed bad for a while. Now they did play well 1 or 2 seasons when Ramsey was there before he was traded, but that shit says in a significant period of time, the Jacksonville Jaguars were bad. Take let's see. Let me think of take for example the Indianapolis Colts. We know they had Andrew Luck, who played well but stayed hurt because they couldn't protect him, But since he retired, they've had Matt Ryan, they've had Phillip Rivers, they've used, I think Jacoby Brissett was there. It seemed like it was one more guy. And now where's Indianapolis drafting? Number 4. So they've been bad for a while because remember, Andrew Luck was the number 1 overall pick. So from the time they drafted Andrew Luck with number 1 to today, when you don't have that guy, you stay at the top of the draft. Take the New York Jets, for example. Zach Wilson 2 years ago was the number 2 pick, which means the Jets were bad. Sauce Gardner, I'm pretty sure, was a top 10 pick last year, which means what? The Jets were bad. And so the Jets have been pretty bad since the Mark Sanchez era, which was almost 10 years ago. We started about 10 years ago. That's what you look like when you don't have that guy at quarterback. All right. Let me see if I can pull out 2 or 3 more examples. Let's jump over to the NFC. Take the Carolina Panthers. 2011, they draft Cam Newton. And of course, in 2015, he led them to the Super Bowl. But what have they done since Cam Newton has not been there? Look how many quarterbacks they've traded for, and look how many quarterbacks they've tried at the starting position. They traded for Sam Darnold. They traded for Baker Mayfield. They tried out PJ Walker. They had Tyler Heineke at one point. They drafted Matt Carroll. They drafted Will Greer. And so the point that I'm making is that's six quarterbacks who stood behind the center position in Carolina, and look at where they are now. Now they've been, drafted number 8, drafted number 9, you know, uh, that kind of thing. But they haven't done anything because they hadn't had that guy. And now their hope is that, hey, let's trade away next year's draft so we can get up and get that number 1 pick and see if we can get him. But that's what you're going to look like. Take the Atlanta Falcons. Since the Super Bowl, Matt Ryan has been on a decline, even to the point where they moved off of him last year. And look what they're drafting again, because they don't have a guy at number 9. And Kyle Pitts was a top 10 pick, and Drake London was also a top 10 pick. I'm pretty sure Drake London was a top 10 pick. So look, you got 3 years of drafting in top 10 because you don't have a quarterback. That's the point that I'm making. So when you don't have that guy, you don't really have a chance. You don't really have a chance. And so for guys who signed up for the Baltimore Ravens, signed long-term deals, they need an explanation on where they're headed. They need an apology for things being so messy. And you know that they get messy when one of the when one of the players goes at the GM for a comment about his position group. And they need a chance. These guys who've been there for a while need a chance. Marlon Humphreys needs a chance to continue to win. Metabuke, Washington, Pierce. Of course, Pierce is back, but they need a chance. Roquan Swift, who signed up for 5 years of this, he needs a chance. If Justin Houston decides to come back, unless he retires, he needs a chance. Ronnie Stanley, who's maybe rounding back into good health, needs a chance. Kevin Zeitler needs a chance. Mark Andrews needs a chance. JK, Gus, Justice Hill, who may be on their last days in Baltimore after this year. They need a chance. And without that guy, they don't have one. Or they have less of one by a significant margin. So listen, man, that's my take, man. Let me know what you guys want me to know. Did I miss anything? What else do the other 52 deserve from the Baltimore Ravens organization? I'm your guy, Boulanger. Please hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on the way out the door. This is the GM, and I'm out.